Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and I just saw something that is pretty disturbing. It turns out that there was a smash and grab recently at a Pokemon store where over $100,000 in Pokemon merchandise was stolen, and I believe this happened like during the time of day where there were customers in the store. The robbers were armed and they just did an all out smash and grab for Pokemon stuff. Now, smash and grabs aren't anything new. We've been seeing smash and grabs happen for years now. But typically, you see things like that with like jewelry stores. You see it happening with, fine goods, luxury brands, luxury items. We see it happen with things like that. And obviously, I know someone in the comments is going to say, well, Y2K, anything that has value is at risk of being, smashed and grabbed. And I get that. The difference, I guess, when it comes to doing smash and grabs with things like Pokemon is that doing smash and grabs in like a Pokemon store is a lot different because 9 times out of 10, there's going to be kids in that store. You're not really gonna have a bunch of kids in a Chanel store. You're not gonna have a bunch of kids in a diamond store or in a jewelry store. You're not gonna have a bunch of kids in places where high-end goods and high-end fashion or even high-end electronics are sold because those are typically items that adults buy. Adults are either buying them for themselves or for other adults. So those are going to be establishments where you typically have adults. But a Pokemon store or like a video game store, these are items that are really meant for children. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that adults are into Pokemon and adults are into video games because of the monetary value. I get it. I get that it's a trading card. It's a hobby that, people get into for the value aspect. But in general, the purpose of Pokemon is really for kids. So, stores that sell Pokemon cards or Pokemon card stores are typically going to have kids in them, children in them. And, to me, that just carries a different weight when you think about a children's store versus like a diamond store where there's going to be mostly adults. Now, I'm not saying that robbing a diamond store is better than robbing a Pokemon store. I think they're both deplorable, and I think people really should just go find jobs or find another way of making money as opposed to just robbing someone. But if if you know that you're going to a place where there's a high likelihood of children being there and you're still willing to go in there brandishing weapons, holding stores up at gunpoint and putting the lives of children at risk over some damn Pokemon cards, that is just horrible. You know what I'm saying? And it makes me ask the question, like, what are things coming to? Like, are people that desperate? Or is the hype around Pokemon cards that real? And to me, like, once something that's meant for children, once something gets to that point, I just don't even want to be involved in it anymore. And I was never really into Pokemon like that anyway, but honestly, that's the same reason why I don't wear like I don't wear diamonds, I don't wear gold, I don't buy jewelry, I don't wear expensive things. I don't do any of those things because honestly, those things just attract attention that I'm not interested in. That's part one. Like, I don't look at someone wearing a diamond necklace or a Rolex watch and feel that that person is superior to me in any way. When I see things like that, I just think to myself, wow, that person must have a lot of money to waste. It's the same thing when I see someone driving by like in a Lamborghini, or when I see someone driving by like, I just think to myself, wow, that person just has a lot of money to blow on that, but it doesn't make them any better than me at all. Now, I'm not hating on anyone who enjoys jewelry or luxury items. If you have the money to buy those things, then buy those things. But you have to know that when you buy those things, you're making yourself a target. You're making yourself a target for people who don't have those things and see the value in those things and are willing to put their life and freedom on the line to take what they see that you have. And for that reason, I've never been into buying jewelry or buying, flashy things just because I don't want to attract that type of energy. To me, it's not worth it. To me, impressing people I don't know isn't worth that type of energy. Now, if I was really into like flashy cars and it was just a hobby of mine, and if it was something that I'm into, then maybe I'd take the risk. But even then, I do it very cautiously, just because I don't want to attract that type of energy. Now, Pokemon cards aren't going to be something that you like wear around your neck unless you're like, I can't remember if it was Jake Paul or Logan Paul that put their Charizard or their Pikachu card in like a diamond encrusted necklace, and he wore it around his neck. But he's a YouTuber, he's a social media influencer, and he's probably just doing that for the clout and for, whatever. But Pokemon cards aren't really something that people are gonna brandish in the street and show off. Maybe if you have a YouTube or like some type of social media, maybe you'll showcase your stuff there. But there really isn't the same type of risk in buying Pokemon cards as there is in buying flashy items that you would wear on the exterior. However, when you consider what people are now starting to do to get these Pokemon cards in going into establishments, doing smash and grabs, holding people up at gunpoint, this is just horrible, and it makes me say, all right, now I really want to stay away from it because it's terrible. And I feel like the one of the only reasons why video games, and don't get me wrong, I've seen where video game stores have been robbed. I've seen multiple instances of that last year and years past where people break into video game stores and rob the store. But it's much more difficult to do a smash and grab of video games because video games are heavy, they're bulky. You can't just like dump them all in a bag. There's only so many video games that one person can carry by themselves, even if they have like a garbage bag. I mean, if you try to fill like an entire construction garbage bag of video games, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be too heavy for you to run out the store with anyway. So video games are a little bit difficult, or not a little bit, they're a lot more difficult to do a smash and grab on than like a pack of cards or packs of cards or smaller items like jewelry or cell phones and things like that. It's just difficult to do with video games, and I think that's why we haven't seen it as much. But if this craze and hype around Pokemon cards, and if the value of Pokemon cards continue to go up, I see this happening. I see this happening more and more in the future. The unfortunate part, again, is that unlike other stores and establishments that get robbed, Pokemon stores and stores that sell Pokemon items are going to have a lot more children in them. And so when people go and rob these stores and do all this stuff to these stores, there are more children that you put at risk when you do things like that. And I could just be speaking from the perspective of, being a parent and having small children. But I just think that's horrible. If you're gonna do a smash and grab and rob a store, go rob a jewelry store. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you're gonna do time for armed robbery, at least get your money's worth. Why do it over Pokemon cards? That's just dumb. I would just go find the jewelry store with the most jewelry and rob them. But of course, robbers are smart. They know that the level of security and loss prevention tactics that jewelry stores, deploy and employ are going to be a lot more sophisticated than like a mom and pop Pokemon store. They're not investing the level of security in a Pokemon store that they would a jewelry store because you just don't think that people are going to do that. But that's going to be something that store owners are going to have to consider. So let me know what you guys think about this. I think this is horrible. It's very sad to hear, and hopefully this isn't a trend that continues. But again, if the value of Pokemon cards and stuff continues to go up, there is a likelihood that we'll see more of this. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.